Hello guys and welcome to the FPL Double Up podcast, where I'm here with the biggest, fattest ever red arrow, and Wes is looking smug in the corner with a nice green.
I thought you was going to call me fat then, John.
If I called you fat, something's wrong here. Oh Wes, what a week. What a week.
What's happened then, John? What's the reason for the red, or should we keep that for later?
I captained Ivan Toney.
You spoke about it last week, didn't you?
Oh.
It could have worked out. Like I sort of did a good case for Haaland over the likes of Maddison, but even Maddison, that could have been on another game where you might have got Maddison and you'd have sort of got out of jail with a similar score to Haaland. Or Tony got a hat trick not too long ago against Leeds. Could have been another similar game like that, couldn't it?
Yeah.
So you can't call things fully. Obviously, it does look silly now, of course, but
hindsight is 2020, Wes. At the time, It was Haaland against United. Now, I know it's Haaland and he's a different beast and all the rest, but it looked like a week that, okay, maybe captaincy could go elsewhere. And Tony against Bournemouth, and I get it, and there's diehards in the audience who'll be going, Bournemouth have looked much improved in the last few weeks under new management, and they aren't quite the 9-0 leaky defence, and I hear you. But I wanted to roll the dice a little bit. I thought Ivan Toney could do well. He nearly had a goal late on, an awkward chance that he nearly put in the net, but he didn't. But Haaland, hat-trick and 2 assists for Foden, wasn't it? Just
yeah, that's right, yeah.
Different gravy. Like, I've never seen a player like him in the Premier League.
Yeah, it's
I've
nuts,
just never
isn't he?
in the world. I've never seen someone do what he's doing. No one has. That's why he's breaking all the records. But
Yeah.
that's
Did you,
for.
did,
Go
sorry,
for
did
it.
you see that? Did you see that graphic? That in his first 100 games in the top European leagues, and this is going back like 20, 30, 40 years with Brazilian Ronaldo, Romario, players like that. He's top of all that list. You've got Shearer, who only had 20 goals in his first 100 games, something like that. Obviously, proven goal scorer, and he's just insane. So his first 100 games in top flight football is like 106 goals or something, way better than Messi, Henry, Shearer, all these huge names you can think of. He's just at the top, and he's just insane. So yeah, nuts.
Yeah, it is nuts, and it is. We're going to have conversations around him very, very shortly, just to give people a rough idea of the running order. We've got 5 talking points. We're going to have a chat about big points from the week. We're going to look at our differentials going ahead. That shouldn't take too long. We've only got 3 this week. We're going to have a look at our little game of double up, which you trounced me in this week. Spoiler alert. Not only did I pick Ivan Toney as my captain, I picked him in the double up league. I was just overexposed on Ivan Toney. Could have been great, but it was absolutely brutal, and I deserve pelters in the comments. Just be nice. maybe you don't have to be nice. Team review and transfer plans. We're going to have a look at our team review and our transfer plans for next week a bit later, and then we'll finish with quick fire questions. But to start with, I have a story that I didn't tell you yet, off air or anything. I got this email through not 45 minutes ago from Richard. I'll not give anything else away. It's Richard. You'll know who you are, Richard. And I'll just read out the email for everyone because it's just a bit of a crazy FPL story. Hi, John. Greetings from Minneapolis. I'm a fan of your videos and the Fantasy Football Hub YouTube channel. I hope it's okay. I got this email address from your So Rare YouTube channel. No problem. Okay, get ready because this is completely mad and amazing. Every so often, I look at the top score of the FPL Gameweek to see how they did it. For Gameweek 9, the top score was Nathan's Rangers with 147 points. Our friend Nathan, however, is quite mad. He had 2 free transfers, but screw it, he used 9 and took a minus 28. He then triple captains Haaland. Sure, why not? Dude gets a hat-trick practically every match. But Nathan picks up Everton's Connor Cody also. Huh? Cody scores his only goal of the season and puts up 9. How about Diaz out and Dan Burn in? Burn's useless, especially compared to Diaz. Am I right? Wrong. Diaz gets 0 points, Burn gets 6. Foden, Firmino and Maddison? Hell yeah, Nate's got all 3 of them. You gotta love this kid for his madness. Whoever Nathan is, he's on a massive hangover this morning. Good on you, mate. It gets better. Nathan's overall rank today, even coming first in the world in Game Week 9, is 9,140,574th. That's the 13th percentile after winning the Game Week. The kid took a minus 16 in blank Game Week 7 and a 10,105,000th. He may well have been dead last that Game Week. If so, there's a record that'll never be broken. Last in the world in Game Week 7 and first in the world in Game Week 9. His patterns up the sleeve extra transfer, then go way overboard and make a gazillion changes. Took a -16 in Game Week 5. The icing on the cake of insanity, this year is Nathan's first year playing and he joined in Game Week 4. So there you are. That's a story for us about an absolute maverick. It sounds like one of these accounts that makes 1 million transfers and does go for the highest point total in the week.
Let's keep track of him over the course of the season if we can. If we can take his little URL, can't we? And, and keep checking in on him, or maybe your guy, who was it, Richard? You said can give you updates. Yeah, keep you updated, and we'll follow what this nutcase does.
But I tell you what, though, a lot of people make those million transfers every week to try and achieve top in the world, but Nathan's done it. So
yeah, if you do it and it works, you could do it. If you did it in a more sensible way as well, you could essentially take a -20 or whatever, and it work out if you did the right transfers and got a huge slice of luck, of course. And then you've kind of given yourself a wild card for free.
Exactly.
If you can do something like that, but yes, it's nothing. You know how boring I am, John. So you know that I won't be doing anything like that.
Do you know what? I'm going back to it. Wes, you know, the one season I finished like 20k and peaked at about 5k in the world was the season we did this podcast first. And I just played boring because I did what you sort of were doing and said to do, and I had a great time because my rank was great. Yeah. And now I'm feeling all maverick, captain and Tony, and trying to be the big man, and I feel like a chump.
So the lesson here is being boring is fun because you do better at FPL, and then you can brag to your mini league rivals.
Exactly. Like, being bold's great crack when it comes off, but it doesn't come off more often than it does.
Yeah. How was it watching did you watch the City game? And if so, were you just sort of head in hands every time Haaland touched the ball?
Was on an absolute bender on Saturday, so I didn't wake up till about 2 o'clock on Sunday, and then got roped into going out for lunch. So thankfully, I missed the first half.
Yeah, that's probably better.
I was still getting the notifications on my phone, and I still had to watch Match of the Day, and I still, I don't know. But anyway, Wes, we've 5 talking points. The first one is about that. Is Haaland now a permanent captain? Is it too dangerous to gamble against? So I gambled against, and I got bitten. Other people might have. Most people didn't. But is he just perma-cap now? Is it that said and done? You can do it against anyone, you have to imagine. Is there another defence in the league that will keep Haaland out? I don't think there is. So,
no, I think whilst he's fit and starting games and there's no sort of hint of rotation, then every game. And some people are lining up a different captain for when Haaland's playing Liverpool, because obviously you look on FPL site, you see it. You know, Liverpool away comes up as a red fixture, doesn't it? Hardest fixture or whatever. But realistically, Liverpool are conceding goals left, right, and centre. Trent doesn't look right defensively. Van Dijk hasn't looked right all season. In midfield, they're just getting played through way too easily, Liverpool. For me, I'm going to captain him away at Liverpool. At home, I can't name a fixture out loud now where you wouldn't want to captain Haaland. In seasons gone by when Salah's been, kind of a permanent captain, you've kind of thought, okay, well, when he's got City away or Chelsea away, then we can look at something different. But Haaland's just a different kettle of fish now. And
it would be different though, Wes, if Liverpool were firing. But Liverpool are they conceded 3 to Brighton, so and they're conceding every single week. So I would probably captain Haaland against Liverpool at the minute.
Yeah, exactly.
He's going to bully those boys,
Yeah, because I think, is it 2 clean sheets for Liverpool this season? Just Everton and Bournemouth, and then outside of that, I think they've conceded the first goal in loads of their games, haven't they? So
I think I was watching Match of the Day today, and it was something like in their last 9 games they've conceded first 8 times or something stupid like that. By the way, that might be slightly off, but it was like
it is something like that.
They're doing it bad, So in a nutshell, is Haaland permanent captain?
Yes. Obviously, the only thing, we could have a little look ahead to Game Week 12 for captaincy options there. That's probably more interesting because at the minute he is a permanent captain, and yes, you might think that's boring. People listening, yes, you might think, you could try something different. But the way I see it is Haaland's captain. So the way to differentiate yourself now is with the other 10 players in your squad. Normally, you can differentiate with other players, and the captain is a differentiating thing, isn't it? But at the minute, it's not. And it's different to those who obviously don't go for it. But I think more now will use it than on Haaland. It's just going to keep growing after that Man United performance, isn't it? That everyone is going to keep going to him.
Yeah. I mean, even a blank or 2 now, people will still be captaining him. I don't even think that's likely based off all the numbers. But I think the question is Haaland perma captain, and you go, oh, it's boring, but I tried not to be boring, and look where I am. it doesn't pay. It can pay if you get it right, but the chances of getting it right are so much lower than getting it, or much high. Chance of getting it right are so much lower than getting it wrong. It's just not worth the risk, in my opinion, anymore. I've learnt my lesson, and I felt like my season was over until Maddison pulled me back somewhat, but still.
And also, John, just I think we spoke about this last week about how good he is at linking up with players from Man City in the box. You know, we always associate someone like Harry Kane as being a more creative player than Haaland, but the stats show actually as well that I tweeted this from Hub the other day that big chances created this season. Haaland's joint second out of any player in the league. He's created more big chances than, the only person ahead of him is on 9 is De Bruyne, Pascal Gross, and Haaland on 5. And if you think how many goals he scores, and he's now creating the chances. The chance he created for Foden was amazing. Sorry, the 2 chances he created that got put away. So yeah, he's got assists in his locker despite only having 3 assists this season, if that makes sense. So yeah, even more reason, not just the goals, it's the assists as well.
Yeah, he's very, very creative there at the weekend. Let's keep on the Man City train. We mentioned Game Week 12 there in terms of captaincy, so a lot of people will have Martinelli. Some people maybe still have like a Saliba or Gabriel Jesus. A lot of us will have Triple City, probably Cancelo, De Bruyne, Haaland, or maybe a Foden's in there. I don't know who else, maybe a Diaz. But anyway, my point is there we're gonna have to bench 3 players that week. What 3 players would you be looking to keep, and would you be comfortable having 4? Playing 10?
No, I don't think so right now. I always like to try and get 11 out when in the blank game weeks, and I'm quite a hit averse person. Apart from in blank game weeks, I always think that you're taking a -4, where the only real risk is losing 2 points if you bring in a player who plays and gets 2 points. Whereas the upside there is, let's say this week a -4 for someone like Madison would have paid off handsomely if that was like a blank game week. So for me,
it's just dawned on me, Wes. I took a -4 to bring Tony in. So I actually paid -4 to captain Tony. If I didn't take the -4, I would have captained Haaland.
But on the plus side, I think you needed the money to therefore get Maddison.
I didn't. Because I had
okay.
Kulusevski. Anyway, I interrupted you because I just had this moment of realization.
It's all good. I thought that would help, but it didn't. So yeah, it's one of those where when you do take -4s and then you captain them and then they blank. And I think you got a yellow card as well to add insult to injury. At least you didn't get. I think I took a -4 when was it last season when Dennis had that double game week. -4 for him to captain him, and obviously you got the red card and didn't even play the second game. So it was a bit of a similar scenario for you here with the yellow card.
Do you know what I need, by the way, for this? I need my rose-tinted glasses on.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, that's
Try
lovely.
and make it feel a bit better.
All
right, Wes, I interrupted you. Who are we keeping for Game Week 12?
Keeping Game Week 12. So it's a difficult one. I think Martinelli at his price is tempting to keep, and it feels like it's kind of shifted us actually in terms of we felt like we had loads of forwards to pick from. Now, obviously, with Bowen doing the business, Maddison, Zaha didn't get any points, but still a good pick. A few other midfielders as well that I'm forgetting. Foden, we can't really target him, obviously, because of the City fixture. But maybe Martinelli isn't. Maybe we don't have to hold Martinelli. Maybe we can bench Jesus. But for me, I have 5 from Man City and Arsenal combined, along with Patterson. So I'm cutting it fine, actually, with the planning, where if Mitrovic is injured for a long time, for example, I'm committed to a -4 just to get 11 players out in Game Week 12. But yeah, the ones I'd keep is obviously Haaland. Originally, I was thinking to keep Cancelo, but you know what? I'm happy to lose Cancelo. I don't know about you, John, because I think there's clean sheets to come there. I think in the easy fixtures, not ahead of this week, of course, Southampton at home. I think that's one where he will attack a bit more. But in the sort of games against other teams in the top 10, he isn't attacking as much this season. And I'm pretty sure the stats would back that up. He's not, you'd watch Cancelo last season with that, and when I didn't have him, and I'd be thinking, shit, he is about to get an assist or a goal any second now because he's crossing it all the time. He's shooting and just hitting the bar or just going over. And it was scary. Now, there's no fear factor with watching Cancelo now, I feel. I know, yes, he scored, I think was at home to Forest, and he's got an assist in one game. I'm not saying he's still a good pick, but I think a bit like in previous seasons, Trent and Cancelo, like last season, were like, must-haves. Yeah. They're both, and to stick with Cancelo, you can go without Cancelo, I think. I don't think he's must-have. He will have good returns, of course, but I think I might look to pivot away from, if I did manage to keep hold of De Bruyne and Haaland through Game Week 12, sorry. If I got rid of Cancelo, then in Game Week 13, I could bring in Foden if I wanted to do that. I've been sort of anti-Foden a little bit this season. just because I've been a bit worried about rotation with the likes of Grealish, Mahrez, Alvarez there. But he's actually getting enough minutes and producing the goods, isn't he? So I think I have to adjust my thinking on Foden. I don't know how you feel about Foden.
He's very much someone that I've ignored for so long because it's just, again, it was the minutes thing and whatever.
And we've
else.
had the triple city anyway. We've been kind of tied to it, haven't we? Yeah.
But do you know, if you look at it there, Trossard actually deserves a conversation too. But the top three score midfielders: De Bruyne, Trossard, Foden, and then you have Maddison, Pascal, Gross, Bernardo. The thing is, like, Foden's up there. He's 4.3 million cheaper than De Bruyne, and he's only scored 2 less points so far this season. So is he in the mix? He absolutely has to be. The issue kind of becomes around where do you squeak that 8 million mid in midfield? Where else are you going to squeak that mid in? Because this is why with Maddison. Oh, sorry, go for it.
No, I was just going to say that's what I think. These 8 million midfielders have now emerged so much that Martinelli isn't an auto hold now. A couple of game weeks ago, I was thinking, I'll hold Martinelli throughout. He's a good value, very attacking. But Martinelli's returns this season have been decent, but I think Xhaka's only got 2 less points than him. And I think, and this isn't in any way against Martinelli, it's just within the context of midfielders now. If we assume for a second, this is up for debate, but if we assume Bowen's back, if we assume Maddison's a lock, if we assume, like you said, Trossard, I barely even spoke about him so far. You can pack a midfield out with really good assets that you don't necessarily need to hold Martinelli. Is Jesus now a better hold? Like, you haven't got him, but I have. So do I hold Jesus now? Tony's blanked in a couple. Tony's got toughish fixtures. Isaac's injured. Solanke's a bit. Mitrovic might be injured as well. So I know we're going to chat about that later and maybe moving down to 2 forwards. Therefore, we pack the midfield. So yeah, I've given a really awful answer to this question because I'm up in the air as well, like I guess everyone is. We don't have to make the decision now. For me, with 5 of those players, I'm looking to hold a transfer this week and then make a decision next week. I'm not afraid to have 2 Arsenal players against Liverpool. Liverpool are conceding goals, and obviously 3 City players is great, and I don't want to jump off them too soon. So you don't want to jump off the 2 best teams in the league too early. Yeah. So it's a real difficult one to play.
Yeah, I think if your team looks solid enough outside those players, as in not too rotation heavy or like rotation risky. Yeah. I actually don't hate if you really wanted to keep your Martinelli or something. I don't hate playing 10 personally for 1 week.
Oh really?
I don't hate it. I don't hate it, but it's obviously far from ideal. I do get your point on like Cancelo. He could be shipped out. I like De Bruyne. I like Haaland. A lot of people are going to want to pivot to the Salah. I think the initial plans was always to pivot from like De Bruyne to Salah for that game week. Yeah. But now just looking at form and whatever, it's just like it doesn't look as appealing.
That's a really interesting topic actually. I know it's not planned to talk about, but do we do that now? Do we just? I'm tempted to ignore Salah and risk game week 12, where he will be heavily captained in game week 12. Just quickly touch on the comments that have sort of semi-distracted me. People are talking about maybe free hitting in game week 12, and that's a good conversation. What I would say is it makes sense. However, game week, I think Ben Crellin was saying game week 29 and game week 32, one's going to be a big blank, one's going to be a big double, and you won't be able to prepare for both without a free hit. So you're going to really hamstring yourself, or whatever the saying is. That's not a saying.
What is the saying?
Is it? Yeah, okay. We'll go with it.
Either we're both wrong. I'll go down with you. Don't worry.
Nice. But yeah, that sort of mini period, game week 29 to 32, seems a long way away now, but your mini league rivals will have a free hit chip and they'll get huge scores from either the blank using it there or huge scores in the double. They'll be able to use the transfers just as planned for one of those, and it will be a valuable chip. So for just one game blanking, I'd rather, like you said, John, take a -4. Play with either 10 players or take a -4 to get 11 players. And then if you want to jump back on Arsenal and City players in game week 13, use your transfers then. Yes, people who play the free hit might gain a few points in the short term in between now and game week 16 doing that tactic, but I'll gain it back in that game week 29 to 32 period like I was talking about. Very confident of that. So yeah, I don't want to be using my free hit chip.
A question I want to throw at you then as well, and I'll let you just take this and then we'll move on based on time. Contested fixtures for top clubs is a topic. Obviously, Champions League football, trying to cram a lot in before this World Cup. What considerations does that give you, or what considerations does that make you take regarding your FPL team?
I think it just makes players like, with no European football, essentially, more... Yeah, sorry, I was going to go down the other route.
You were going the opposite way, yeah.
Yeah. So players like Zaha, who we know is nailed on anyway for Palace. I know he's, he blanked last week, but someone like that is just going to be locked on. Whereas someone like Foden, who is tempting me now, is he going to get rotated in Champions League? It's really difficult to know. With someone like Foden, do you just accept the rotation and hope that over a course of, say, a 4-game period, he gets enough FPL points to make it worth the risk of rotation? It's difficult, but yeah, those big teams, players who are already a little bit of a rotation risk, the likes of, say, Son, Kulusevski, Richarlison are sharing game time, aren't they? So with Spurs playing Champions League, that's only going to increase, and it's going to be difficult to manage that, assuming Kulusevski comes back from his injury soon, I suppose. But yeah, players just be wary of that there is going to be big rest periods, like there is every season, I suppose. But yeah, even more so this season. Players from the lesser teams, or who finish outside the top 7 or 8 last year, will just have an easier schedule. Maddison, perfect now. Could you double up on, say, Maddison and Barnes? That could be a decent enough option. Players like Bright, like I said earlier, John Trossard, they're going to have more game time. The flip side to that is obviously don't overlook the top teams. They still have the top players and the best FPL assets, essentially, don't they? So it's a balancing act, and maybe it's a time to strengthen benches where possible. My bench is horrific at the minute. I've got Patterson, who's injured and cheap and not a great asset anyway. Andreas Pereira, who's not doing anything. And Nico Williams, who got hooked at half-time last night. So my bench is weak at the minute, but I don't think I can even... At the minute, I can't use transfers to build my bench because I need to be using it on taking out City and Arsenal assets at some point over the next 3 weeks.
Woodwax has commented saying, like the video, guys, John is sad. I am sad, and your likes make me happier. So please like the video. I need it this week, and I need it.
I put a tweet out to try and get people to watch for your misery, because people tend to watch YouTube videos if
sadistic B words. I'm not cursing over on this channel, but anyway, you mentioned Zaha. You mentioned the fact that the big guys are obviously maybe rotation risks with the congested fixtures, but Palace's fixtures turn good.
Yeah.
Who would you be targeting? Zaha's obviously the guy who's kind of been targeted. Yeah. Gay in defence as well has been mentioned, I think.
Yeah.
On different streams outside that.
Yeah, it is pretty much those two, I guess. I think in defence, it depends. If you've got a little bit of extra money, there's not much of a price difference between Gay and players like Anderson or Mitchell, who might have a little bit more attack threat. It's like 0.2 million. I've kind of highlighted Gay just because if you're going to go for a cheap Palace option who's got good fixtures, who you're more than likely going to bench most weeks anyway, you might as well save on the budget. And the other two assets that I've just mentioned it's not as if they've got amazing attacking upside. So yeah, I'd save the money and go for Gay. Now, I don't know. I guess throw it out over to the comments a little bit in terms of for me, players like Eze and Olise are nice on the eye. And their forwards are a bit hit and miss. So although their fixtures are good, I can't see myself going for the likes of Edouard, Eze, or Olise. Like I said, they look really nice on the eye. You watch them play and you think they're a great player. Let me put them in my FPL team. But are they going to deliver enough FPL points in that time, John? What do you think?
I don't think there's anyone that team I'd look at outside Zaha.
Yeah, no defender.
Maybe Gaida.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, cover that clean sheet for the easier.
But fixtures. I mean, like Gehi and whatever. Okay, I get it. Is it Gay or Guehi? Gehi. You don't know.
I can't pronounce anything. John.
You can't pronounce any name. Okay, so I mean, when I even look at him, right, I get the 4.3 price tag makes it appealing for a guy who hasn't missed a minute in the league this season, but he's still just got 11 points with 1 clean sheet. Not a bonus point in the bag yet this season or any attack and return. So, like, I don't know. I get it if you need it.
He's not like you say. Yeah, he's not with defenders. I do like to get those players with goal threat. The only thing, like you said, with someone like Gahey now at 4.3, if it's 4.5, he's not even in the conversation. It is literally that price saving, and it's almost he's in that price bracket of almost because Nico Williams is 4.1 now, so he's closer to Nico Williams than he is to the 4.5 defenders who have maybe gone up in value a little bit. Yeah. So that's all it is. He only becomes an option because he is in that price bracket of a bench pretty much every week. If he was in my team, he'd be a bench option. But in Gameweek 12, if you look at the Gameweek 12 fixtures, I think he's got Wolves at home, and Wolves have scored the least of any team, I want to say. Might not be right, but they've, how many goals have Wolves scored? They must be in the bottom 3 or 4.
I don't know. Let's go and check that out. Premier
Yeah.
League.
So that's going to be interesting. Are Wolves still going to be poor from an attacking point of view? Diego Costa's coming in, obviously, which is interesting. A new manager's on the way because obviously they've sold.
Oh, there's a lot of teams that have
Lad.
scored less goals than Leeds.
The Wolves, I meant.
Oh, sorry, did you say Wolves? Yeah,
Yeah,
Wolves have scored
Wolves.
3 goals.
Yeah, and that's who Palace.
Jeez, that is so bad.
Yeah, that's who Palace playing game week 12. So when I'm talking about Gahey, I wouldn't even in the easy fixtures like they've got this week, I still probably wouldn't even start him. It would literally be for that game week 12 fixture when I'd need to play him because I'm going to be benching Haaland, etc. In game week 12.
3 goals. Wow,
Yeah.
that's bad. Yeah, but just to close off the point, I think the thing with Lacazette is, such an exciting young player. We're all excited to watch him, and that is 100% true. But equally, he's only got 2 assists this season, a couple of bonus points, 24 points out of 9 games. He's not an FPL asset, in my opinion. At least say, oh, lovely on the eye, great. Yeah, he got 90 minutes for the first time this season. Yeah, it's the first time this season and he hasn't scored more than 3 points in a game week. You go on, you can run through any midfielder and pretty much tear them down like that, apart from Zaha.
Yeah.
And their forwards, Edouard, in and out, never getting 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Great run of fixtures off the back of a goal, but meh.
And with Zaha now, he's been a kind of player that traditionally I've kind of put him in that bracket of Eze and like, yes, he's sometimes nice in the eye, but doesn't get the return. Now he seems, over the last 12, 18 months, he's sort of had come out in interviews and said, hang on a minute, I need to be more selfish. I need to take penalties. I need to get my numbers up. So he's now more focused on goals and assists rather than just playing well, which is obviously good for FPL. So, and he's taking penalties, which is a plus as well. So I'm hopeful for Zaha. He looked on the highlights I watched of the Chelsea Palace game. He looked a bit quiet. I think he had one decent-ish shot or an assist attempt maybe, but I think with Zaha, there's still that potential there. He's got a good mid-price midfielder, so I think I think people will be getting a bit itchy trigger finger with him already.
Yeah.
Again, I think I'm just making it
Just mixing sayings up.
Mixing about. I'm just going for it. But I think stick by Zaha with those fixtures. I don't see any reason to take out, especially as most of us have to be focusing our transfers now on making sure we have 11 for game week 12.
The last talking point before we move on to all the other talking points is Mitrovic. Hold or drop? If so, who could replace him? And this brings around the conversation around, the season's kind of started off in like a 5-3-2, wasn't it, that everyone was playing? And then it kind of moved into maybe a 4-3-3 or whatever. And now it's kind of go back to, okay, I don't know if there's anyone around Mitrovic's price or even above him that I particularly want to bring in. With Isaac injured, maybe Callum Wilson's an option. There's a few options here and there. We might get on to a couple, but like, it does kind of make me think, am I better just Mitrovic it down to Greenwood or something again? I know it's kind of wasting a transfer, not necessarily wasting a transfer.
There is potential there. There is potential to do that, and also you're not committed all season. You're only committed what game week now? Game week 10 to game week 16. So there's 7 more game weeks until we get unlimited transfers during the World Cup. So you're only committed to that formation for 7 game weeks tops. And we now know that there is all those midfielders. I don't want to list off the same names again, but there is a load of midfielders now who have come back into the fray who are maybe off the cards for a while. The likes of Bowen's been off the cards. Now he is now a viable shout. Zaha's a shout. Foden when he's back from obviously his thing. So you could play 5 midfielders now quite comfortably. Whereas the appeal of the strikers has dropped off a little bit. We've seen obviously Solanke and Tony blank in the last couple. We've seen, Tony's next 3 aren't great in my opinion.
3 hard fixtures actually.
Yeah, there's Isaac and Wilson sharing game time maybe. What's going on there? Someone's just said Watkins in the comments. Not interested in Watkins at all.
Solanke?
Yeah, not really. I mean, the fixtures are okay, and I think as a good budget enabler, that might be an option where you could maybe look at Solanke and still pivot to 3-5-2 maybe. If he could be almost a bench option some weeks, play some weeks. I personally just like to have one cheap player out of my front 8 to bench each week, but I know some people like to have maybe 2 slightly more expensive ones, and maybe you could rotate between, say, I don't know, Xhaka, who's 5 million-ish, and Solanke. Maybe cherry pick fixtures that way over the next few. When Xhaka blanks, you could obviously have Solanke in and that sort of thing. Maybe, again, like I say, I don't like doing that. I like to have that Andreas Pereira type figure, or like you said, an Archer Greenwood type figure up front and just bench them each week. Doesn't always work out, but less benching headaches, and you can just focus your money into 7 forwards rather than 8.
Well, let us know in the comments who you'd bring in. I'm seeing Daka in there. I've seen Aubameyang mentioned a couple of times. I know he's a big upgrade, but
People keep talking about Daka, but Daka was on the bench. Vardy played well last night and got himself an assist, played well from a football point of view, and then got subbed off on the 60th minute for Daka, who scored. But if Vardy's playing well, you can't rely on Daka for starts. So, no.
no. Vardy got a wee assist, yeah. That's nice. I have him in my draft league, Wes, would you believe?
Nice.
So, right, that leaves us onto the differentials, I believe. So let me just check this. Let me jump over here. Don't know if I've it set up right. Of course I did. Thank God. Well done, previous John. So we've got our double up differentials for game week 10. Top 250k ownership. With Rodrigo, Bowen and Almiron on the screen. This is all based again off that top 250k ownership because we want to just look at the most engaged managers. Yeah. Obviously Rodrigo would be in a lot of teams that were in early in the season and who aren't playing the game anymore. So he isn't necessarily a differential if you look at his percentage overall, but in terms of the engaged top managers, he's definitely different. Just 1.98%. So we'll start off with Rodrigo.
Yeah, so he returned from injury this week. Didn't play 90 minutes. He played the majority of the game anyway. Leeds went down to 10 men, which obviously hampered him because obviously they pretty much were then looking to play for the draw. However, in the first half, he was looking really lively in that centre forward position, nearly got on the end of a cross, and then at one point had a really good shot from the edge of the area. Obviously no FPL returns, but we see with Rodrigo, we saw a lot of potential in those opening, how many game weeks? 4, 5, 6 game weeks, whatever it was until his injury. And he, his stats were right up there with the likes of Haaland and Mitrovic for sort of shots, FPL points, etc., etc. So if Rodrigo seems a different player under Jesse Marsch, so I think he's worth considering, and I think he should be in the conversation now for midfield replacements. And back to the sort of Mitrovic replacements, maybe, and with players like De Bruyne, maybe at some point we want to pivot from, let's say Mitrovic was injured, Mitrovic up to Kane. Where'd you get the money from? De Bruyne down to the likes of a Trossard or a Rodrigo. So that's why with the mid-price forwards now faltering a little bit, maybe Kane is the play. And therefore we're going to need these sort of budget-enabling midfielders like Rodrigo. So, yeah.
Bowen is a trap, is what FPL Top Bin said. That was actually a direct quote from me last week. Bowen is a trap.
Was it last week or the week before?
I don't even know. I don't even care anymore. Bowen is a trap. Captain Ivan Toney. I've had an absolute belter a couple of weeks, haven't I? Yeah. So Bowen, 8.1 million. I still think he's a trap. 5.33%.
He's at the time when you said that, you was right in everything you said in terms of his performances were well below. West Ham fans would tell you that.
West Ham have 5 goals so far this season.
Yeah, and 2 came last week. So yeah, at the time of you saying that, Bowen, I don't think he'd got a fancy return and wasn't looking great. And his score is really inflated by what was a very, very lucky assist. It was basically counted as a shot on target that was then blocked and then scored with a rebound, but it was kind of a tackle. I don't know if anyone's seen the goal, but
I did, yeah.
A lucky assist there, but an assist nonetheless. He was involved, and then he scored a nice goal. So, and I think he's in there for not what he's done so far this season. It's sort of taking a little bit of a leap of faith that he can recapture last season's form, coupled with decent fixtures for West Ham. So yeah, you could go, and obviously he's proved that. Not maybe is this going to kickstart his season now after getting his first goal and pushing for a World Cup place? Because players like Bowen, Maddison, there's a lot of competition in those attacking midfield slots for England, and therefore those players have to perform to get in the World Cup squad. Players like Harry Kane and Maguire are just nailed on for England no matter what. So whereas the other attacking midfield players have
should
to
Maguire be? That's madness. That's a different day's conversation.
But... Yeah, he shouldn't be. And obviously you're not England fan yourself. But for me, yeah, it's really frustrating that I want England to play a back four, concede more goals, and just get those attacking players in, because this is a bit of a tangent. But for England, there's literally one slot available for either Bowen, Maddison, Foden, Grealish, Saka. 5 great players there. There's more as well that I've just mentioned. There's only one position available because there's 3 centre backs, 1 goalkeeper, 2 wing backs, so that's 6 players already, and then there's 2 centre midfielders, and Kane and Sterling always play. So there's 10 players there. Like I said, so all those amazing attacking wing midfielders, whatever you want to call them for England, only one can get in the team, unfortunately. Sancho as well is another one I haven't mentioned, or someone like Rashford as well. Rashford, all those players for one position because of how Southgate sets up. So Yes. Listen to me, Southgate. You're the England manager, but listen to FPL Heisenberg. He knows what to do with England better than you.
Trent on the right wing is what you guys need, and then Reece James
Yeah,
behind. You can't be
exactly.
benching Trent.
Trent might not even make the squad. I think
I know.
Southgate said that Trippier and Reece James are clear of him. And I know this season Trent's form hasn't been amazing, but Trent's ability, you've got to try and get him in the team somehow.
Creatively.
Yeah, for sure. But
anyway.
yeah.
So Bowen there, 5.33% ownership in the top 250,000 managers. And our last one's Almiron, who's scored, I don't think it'll hang on for goal of the season, but he's probably already won goal of October.
And Almiron, it feels like I picked him just because he bagged a brace last week, and it's like, oh, who scored last week? Let's just put him in this. But it's not that case at all. I've been really impressed with him so far this season. I was really impressed with him against Man City, and he scored in that one. And he's been one historically who's never really got the FPL points, but I feel like the season will be a bit different. I feel like this will be his best season for FPL returns for sure. I think he's already scored more goals this season than he has in any season or something like that. So I think, he's really improved. He nearly got his hat-trick away at Fulham, but it was just offside in the build-up. What else? His price point as well. We could all put in players who are like 10 odd million that we all know about, someone like Sterling or whatever, but Almiron is not only a different.
Oh no. Have we lost our co-host?
I can still hear you.
You're back.
I have to cut out for a second.
I thought I was going to do the double up again where I talk to myself, but we're here.
It's my shambles of an internet, which I've upgraded to Virgin's unbelievable top speeds that they keep telling me, but it's still shoddy. Anyway, Almiron, like I said, he's kind of that player which you can bench some weeks. It's almost just like a slight upgrade on Andres Pereira, maybe. He could be our bench player, and then you'd be more than happy if he came off your bench. I've seen a few teams actually who had someone who had Kufal and Almiron first sub, and Kufal didn't play obviously, so Almiron came in for them. So, you can call that luck, but to be fair, they've got a better bench option than Andres Pereira, so they almost have earned that luck a little bit.
Yeah, he's looked good most of the season. Now, he hasn't been scoring. He hasn't been given consistent returns, but he got a 7-pointer against Man City, as you mentioned, that goal. Now, he's blanked and he hasn't got any other goals or assists all season until Fulham game there where he got 2 goals. But I remember even in pre-season, he had a really, really top pre-season, if I remember correctly.
Exactly.
So it's not like... I'm not going to say he's been unlucky. I'd have to look into the numbers, but it does seem like he's been in my thoughts, or at least I've been aware of him more than in previous seasons, even though he hasn't been returning. So Almiron maybe isn't surprising people on this graphic at just 1.89% ownership. But those are our differentials. Wes, anything else to say on them?
Honourable mention to someone like Xhaka and Diego Costa, who, again, is not someone that I'm going to go anywhere near. However, he came off the bench against West Ham, nearly scored with a header, got an assist, but it was just offside in the build-up. Now, I'm not going there, but he's worth keeping an eye on because we know what quality he's got, and he's only 5.5 mil, I think. With Wolves' new manager, who knows, they can maybe get some attacking form. Now they've got a proper striker as well. So one to sort of, and it's just an exciting sort of player to have back in the Premier League, isn't it? So just one to sort of think about.
I was just about to say, did he get a yellow card? He managed not to get a yellow card, so that's good for him. He will pick up yellows. Like, he's the type of player that you actually have to factor in when you're looking at his points, that over the course of 20 games you're probably going to lose 10 points to yellows and he'll be out for a game, But look, guys, there's 500 people here. Please do like the video while you're here if you're enjoying the podcast, and do subscribe. You'll get this every week with videos coming out the rest of the week. Talking to Bakar, I've seen him mention in the comments. Raptor's going to come on for a video, which is exciting. There's the FPL Green Arrow. We've lots happening this week, so do subscribe to catch all that. Wes, let's have a look at the Double Up League and how we're getting on there. So first off, I'll just explain the rules. The Double Up rules, so basically me and Wes are playing each week. I keep cutting you out of this somehow. Me and Wes every single week pick a double up from a different team, and we're going head to head over the course of a season. The first rule is that the 2 players we pick have to have a below 1% top 10k combined ownership. That means the 2 players have to be owned by less than 1% of the top 10k. Rule 2, you can't use the same team twice in consecutive game weeks. And rule 3 is that the loser at the end of the season will shave off their beautiful beard. There we go. Have a good look at that. So that's obviously something neither of us want to do. I think Wes, you'd
Yeah.
probably get away with it. Mine hides about 14 chins. I think you'll actually look quite handsome without yours.
No, I'd look
Um,
awful. And yeah, people might think, oh, just shaving a beard, that's no big deal. But we both, I don't think, probably for like 10 years for both of us, isn't it, John? Where we've literally
yeah,
never, not had, we've always had beards. So it'll be like it'll be like someone shaving off their head. I'd probably rather
yeah.
shave off my head than my
It's
beard.
actually I've shaved my beard once in about 9 years, and it didn't go down well.
Yeah.
Like it really didn't go down well, and it didn't really help with my self confidence either.
Yeah. So we don't,
This
we don't
is
want to do this.
this is contouring for men. This is like hide that. Like I'm just a circle
Yeah.
without this beard. Anyway, the other unwritten rule is that we'll only pick one 10 million plus player a week. Otherwise, we could just go for like Kane and Son, quite often. A lot of people can't afford. A lot of people in the top 10k don't have those really, really premium double ups, so you could do that. But anyway, so those are the rules. Let's have a look at how we got on last week, and then we'll have a look at who we've picked this week.
Yes,
Last week,
let's do that.
doubled down on Tony. He wasn't only my captain, he was a double up pick, and Mbuemo. 0-0 against Bournemouth. It is what it is.
It was a good pick on paper, wasn't it? That game could have easily been 2-0 Brentford with those two involved in the points in some way, shape, or form.
It's one of those that, like, with hindsight, I look back and I go, oh yeah, maybe Bournemouth have been a bit better defensively, but at the time, you're looking there, you're trying to be a wee bit different, you're targeting Bournemouth. I don't think the logic's that bad. I think with hindsight, and you go 0-0, okay, but
and
equally,
we can't go too over the top on Bournemouth having some sort of amazing defence. You'd still be happy having an attacker. I've got Maddison against Bournemouth this week. I'm happy to have Maddison in my team.
Yeah,
against Bournemouth. So.
Yeah, they're not all of a sudden like Man City. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, Tony and Mbuemo let me down. 3 points in game week 9. That gives me a total of 20 points. The previous week, I think I had Kane and Dyer who did well. We've only been doing this for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And Wes, you had a blinder. You had Maddison and Barnes. Oh,
yeah.
26 points. That gives you up to a total of 37. You're running away with it like that. That's outstanding.
Yeah, that's a big haul this week after an average one last week, wasn't it? So yeah, happy with that one. I think Barnes was on for bonus at some point. I think he lost it in the end to someone like Ward who got a few saves. But yeah, I think that was sort of again targeting. We're both trying to look at who's got the easiest fixture to play against, whilst also fitting in with the rules. But yeah, this week coming up, you've gone for.
I've gone for some belters. So the way we do this is the loser picks first.
I can't see me winning this week. Winning this week.
Loser picks first. I obviously lost. That's a huge week for you, by the way. Wes, like 26 points is outstanding. So that'll stand you really well over the season. In terms of who I've picked, because obviously I pick first, I've went for a Haaland and a Kanji this week. Now, I had to play around. Obviously, trying to pick Haaland. Everyone has Haaland, so I had to pick a Man City player that isn't owned that much, because like Foden I couldn't pick. De Bruyne obviously was over the 10 million. Even, I don't know, a Cancelo I couldn't pick. Maybe Ederson might have worked out in hindsight, but a Kanji, I'm willing to take the risk he gets a start. A lot of praise coming his way recently.
Yeah, he played well.
Played well. There is rotation potentially in Champions League. There's a few of them sniffing around the centre-back spots. Laporte was on the pitch recently, I've seen as well. And Diaz, what's the story with him? He didn't play. Is he injured or has he just been rotated? Basically, Akanji could be rotated, but I don't really care because of Haaland.
Yeah, exactly. You're sure if you don't win this week, it's going to be very, very surprising with Haaland there at home to Southampton.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I think, he's going to pick.
Yeah, I got Haaland, and again, obviously we can't do this twice in a row, so I can't take Haaland next week, but I've got the man in this week. I think this could be a Haaland each week between us, and like whoever gets the first pick, apart from game week 12. So that's my picks. Your pick, you went for Palace. Talk us through this.
Yeah, and when you were talking about Gay not having any sort of attacking return so far this season, I did start thinking, should I've done that?
Because I was thinking in your head. I'm trying to make you worry.
Because I was thinking about maybe Zaha and Eze, but then, like we've already said so far, no one really gets the attacking returns for Palace consistently like Zaha does. So it was Zaha plus one other person, basically. I couldn't go for Leicester because I went Leicester last week. They've got Bournemouth. So, yeah, I thought Zaha at home. I know Leeds aren't as poor as they were, say, last season. However, I'd be backing Zaha for a goal in that one. Leeds aren't scoring that many, so who knows? Maybe a clean sheet for Gahey. Maybe a Gahey 6-pointer, a Zaha 8-pointer, 14 points. If Kanji gets rotated, Haaland stays quiet-ish, I might scrape through. Or even if I lose, because we're doing total points, aren't we?
Yeah.
Maybe I can only lose by a few points and then keep the overall lead. But yeah, mate,
That's the thing,
I should maybe tweak this.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. I think consistent returns
Yeah.
do well. Like you're 26 or whatever you got, like that all looks very well, Wes. But I mean, you're going to get 3 points a week for the rest of the season, so it doesn't actually matter when I'm going to be churning out eight and 10 pointers. But anyway, look, best of luck this week. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Zaha could do well. And just before we move on, where's a quick one? I just want to shout out Spitch. Spitch, bring this to you. This is powered by Spitch. Spitch is kind of like, and this is funny, I love doing these plugs like completely unprepped because I think it's more authentic. Spitch is kind of like FPL, right? Except it's more, there's more things scored for. So every single thing your player does in a pitch will come into account. Shots on target, tackles, blocks, interceptions, all that'll be scored. There's weekly competitions, the season-long competition, and you can pay to play, or you can play for free. So check out Spitch. It's kind of like FPL, but a bit more in-depth. Reminds me in a sense of the So Rare thing I play, where it's kind of like, I don't know, in FPL, you only want your player to get a goal or an assist or maybe a clean sheet, whereas when I'm watching my players from like So Rare, every single time they get the ball and pass it, I'm like, don't give the ball away, away. And it kind of just adds a bit, but there we go, shout out to Spitch. So we'll move on now to the team reveals and our plans going ahead. So I'm going to start with mine, Wes, just because I have it on the screen now. So we'll start with the bad and get to the good. So 69 points, AO, with a -4, 65 overall, big fat red arrow. Down from about 900k to about 1.6 million or something. Madison saved me with that 18-pointer in a big way, but still obviously didn't get away scot-free. I keep cutting you out when I'm doing this, Wes. I'm sorry. Your head wasn't on the screen for a second there. I need to work this out. So Haaland not being captain cost me big time. Obviously, Mitrovic with a 0-pointer. I load a few other blanks around the place. I don't really want to spend too much more time on it. Even like Pope and Trippier losing the clean sheet was a shame. And
Trippier got subbed off luckily, but
Trippier got it, but Pope.
But Pope, I can't believe I'm moaning about Pope. I've been moaning about him for literally the last few days. That was such a one-sided game. No shots on target, barely any shots in total. There was a red card after like 8 minutes for Fulham. Mitrovic, their biggest goal threat after 37 minutes off. The game was comfortable for Newcastle. Easy, when your goalkeeper loses his clean sheet, you don't really mind if the other team are peppering your goalkeeper's goal. You kind of expect it to come, don't you? You can't keep a clean sheet every week, but that game was crazy. How he lost it in the last minute, their first shot on target. He didn't do very well for the goal actually, but yeah, that was disgusting. But yeah, luckily Trippier got subbed off, so it was at least a little bit bittersweek there.
Exactly, yeah. Got away with one. And if we have a look at my team for next week, I don't know how this is squared up on the page at the minute. Game week 10 coming up. I don't really know what I'm at. I've got 2.5 million or something in the bank. It says 2.5 million here. I think that's correct, actually. Let me just check my transfers. Yeah, I've got 2.5 million in the bank. I don't really know. I don't feel like I need to make moves. The Mitrovic is the big one because I don't really want to play Nico Williams, Fofana, or Andreas. I think I could play Fofana, to be honest. He's played 90 minutes the last 2 games for Chelsea. Potter seems to like him. Chelsea didn't do too great, though, so I'm afraid that changes. But Fofana could come in. Wolves, as we say, aren't scoring goals, so maybe he's someone who could come in for Mitrovic, roll it, get more information on Mitrovic, and just stockpile a couple of transfers. Now, that is probably the best move for me. Other than that, I do have 2.5 in the bank, so I could go up from Mitrovic, down from Mitrovic, up from Bailey. There's a few things I can do.
Yeah, with Fofana as well, like you said, it is a really good fixture to play him in, and he's the type of player where I know there's 5 subs this year, so I might be wrong, and maybe this won't happen, but you'd think he won't get subbed on. So if he is benched, and even if Mitrovic is out, you should at least have Nico Williams coming in for a home game against Villa. So it's not like the end of the world. Whereas, with some players like the likes of Chilwell and Reece James, when they get benched, they're probably going to come on and try and, change the game with 10 minutes to go, aren't they? So, but with Fofana's not going to be brought on to change the game. He might be brought on to give the centre-backs one of a rest for 10 minutes if he does miss out. But I think that's quite unlikely, even with 5 subs. It is a little bit hard to judge with 5 subs, though, to be fair.
Yeah. I'm having a look anyway, and I'm predicted to get 71 points. Game week rating of 89% just. So this is projected to be a pretty high scoring week. Obviously, Haaland projected to get over 10 points. First time I've seen that. and a team rating of 87. So that's how I'm looking. My initial thoughts, as I say, are probably play this team, but of 2.5 in the bank. If we get concrete news on Mitrovic, it might be time just to get it done. I don't know if I'll downgrade to put the money elsewhere. I don't really know what I'm going to do. I'm going to get more information. It's obviously early in the week, but these are the initial thoughts. I don't really like the idea of having to rely on Bailey and play him, but it is Nottingham, so it's probably an okay fixture to roll the dice.
Yeah,
but
they're obviously conceding a lot of goals as well. And yeah, Bailey's not like an amazing option. Of course, he is a budget enabler. And he has got a few attacking returns so far this season. So yeah, it's sort of lucky in a way that, not lucky, but it's fell nicely for you that if you do have to play him or even Nico Williams, you've kind of got players that they haven't got awful fixtures, have they? Neither of them are away to Man City or anything. So
exactly,
it could work out.
Might be okay. And then obviously I do like, what I don't like having in any sort of a fantasy game is the likes of Pope and Trippier, but I also have Tony because your upside's capped, you know. You can still tick along and have a nice week, but I'm not gonna break massive. Like, you know, Tony scored a hat trick. It's not good for Pope or Trippier.
It is difficult. It's kind of unavoidable though. We had a similar one last week, didn't we? With we both had Mitrovic and we both had the Newcastle double up there as well. So I kind of went into that one thinking, you know, if Mitrovic scores, then okay, he's got some points, so that's decent. But if he blanks and then there's a clean sheet, then I'd probably prefer that. More people have Mitrovic. I do get what you're saying though, but I think it's unavoidable. And if you was trying to make this, you know, you don't really want to be dropping either one of those for what is a good fixture for Newcastle.
Yeah.
I think the way you've probably got to look at it is if Tony does wipe out the clean sheet, that's probably not as good for you, but at least
you're hedging.
It's Tony. Yeah, you're kind of hedging. You're getting some points, and the people who don't have Tony. So yeah.
So. If anyone, what I will just show here is I can scroll ahead to the future game weeks and I can see that next week doesn't look good at all for me. Just with the Liverpool fixture for the City guys, Bailey's up against Chelsea there, a few other hard fixtures. Seemingly, you know, Newcastle have United, who should score, you'd imagine. And if anyone wants to give this a crack and look ahead to their future game weeks, click the link in the description. You can sign up for free, but I think if you want to scroll ahead, you'll have to sign up for a paid membership. There's 30% off with the link in the description. Where's your teams on the screen?
Oh, nice. I'll just quickly finish off your team. I don't think you're looking in that bad shape for next week, given the fact that if you do save a transfer, you'll have 2 frees and a bit of money in the bank as well. And on the other side of that, you've got the City boys who should, on current form, beat Liverpool and score points as well. So I don't think you're in that bad shape. And especially everyone's going to have the 3 City against Liverpool anyway, so you're in the same boat as everyone. But yeah, onto my team. I think we're set up fairly similarly, a lot of similar players, I suppose.
Yeah, you've Jesus and Zaha. And that's kind of the differences where I have Tony and Bailey.
Yeah, and then
you win.
Yeah. So at the minute, I'm looking at something similar to you, and maybe save a transfer. But I'm in a bit of, my bench isn't great either. If Mitrovic is out and I still decide to save a transfer, then I probably would start Nico Williams. At home to Villa. He did get dragged at half-time yesterday. I'm hoping that was to sort of save him because the game was done and he was already on a yellow. I don't know what's on. Is my team on the screen in terms of for next week, John, or is it just my points?
No, it's just your previous, but I can pull up this week very quickly.
Okay, yeah. Do that just so we can see how it's lined up. But essentially, in a nutshell, just as you're doing that, I'm hoping Mitrovic pulls through. So all eyes on that. I've got very little flexibility compared to you, John, because I've got like nothing in the bank, maybe 0.1. I think I spent my money on Pascal Gross to Maddison last week. So yeah, I have very little in the bank, and I've got the extra issue compared to you, whereas I've got 2 Arsenal, 3 City, and Patterson.
Yeah.
So saving the transfer for me is really preferable. Hopefully Mitrovic is back ASAP. Even if he's out this week, if I know Mitrovic is going to be fit for, say, game week 12, I'm going to have to hold on to him because I can't be... I'm really tight on transfers now to sort myself out for game week 12. I've left myself a bit thin, but that was with the idea of not neglecting these earlier game weeks. So if I can save a transfer this week, game week 10, my Arsenal boys have Liverpool at home, but Arsenal at home are looking really good, really high intensity, and I don't see Liverpool being able to keep them out, and therefore Martinelli and Jesus have got a decent chance of being in the points there. And then when it comes to game week 11, I'll have 2 free transfers to then start planning for, prepping for that game week 12 blank.
Yeah, And looking there, predicted to get up 70 points for this upcoming week. Would you take it?
I think so.
Yeah.
It's hard though, isn't it? Because like with last week, I scored 98 last week, but it was basically Haaland captain that got me the 46 or whatever it was. So did the rest of my team outside of Haaland and Maddison, did the rest of my team do that well? It was very average. I got blanks from Pope, blanks from Reece James and Cancelo. I got blanks from Zaha and Mitrovic. Jesus Martinelli did okay. Happen in FPL, doesn't it? Sometimes it is one or two players who do it. It was, the Maddison and Haaland mainly. Obviously, like I said, Jesus and Trippier contributed as well. But although I got a really good green arrow last week, it wasn't as if my whole team's on fire. I have some issues in my team. I was carried by two players, basically.
Well, Wes, that's your team. Anything else to say on it, or will we do some quick fire questions?
Yeah, let's do that. Like I said, hopefully I can hold a transfer, play 3-4-3 with Mitrovic. If not, hold a transfer and play Nico Williams. Not ideal, and I'd be really thin on the bench. But I can't really see one transfer move that's very good with nothing in the bank. So, yeah.
Well, Nico Williams is predicted to score a tenth of a point more than Mitrovic, so maybe it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, not a bad fixture for him if he's going to play over 60 minutes. He's still got some attacking potential, so yeah, I don't hate playing Nico against Villa. So yeah, not
guys,
if it happens.
There's over 400 of us here. Get your questions in. Quick fire questions for 5 minutes before we wrap up. How this works is put in an A or B style question or a yes or no. If it's more than that, we're probably going to skip over it.
How many likes have we got, John?
Oh, we're going to make ourselves sad. Do get questions in for us, because Wes is going to try and break records, and if there aren't enough questions for him to break records with, he'll cry. Bakar still holds a record, 53 questions answered in 5 minutes. So
he got 53. Is that a new record?
No, that was the record from before. 53 hasn't been broken.
How do you keep count, by the way? You got a pen and paper and you're just
pen and paper here. We tally.
Ah, nice.
Yeah. So how many likes have we got? Because 117 out of 450 people. That's about 25%. That means 75% of people don't like us, Wes.
We're both crying, aren't we?
They're going to dislike it now because they're going to think you're being sarcastic. Please actually do like the video.
I know, yeah, do like it, yeah.
Please do like it, yeah, please. Really, really helps with the numbers in the video and all that stuff. But get your yes or no.
Oh. We used to beg for likes more last season, didn't we, John? We used to really go for it. And
we used to really get down, and I think I was twerking for them and stuff.
Yeah, you was abusing them as well, calling them freeloaders, twerking, doing some other sort of sexy moves as well that everyone was loving.
That's it. So let's get those questions in. We're going to bang them out. Wes, I wish you the best of luck here. Now, it's up to you. You can take your time answering them or you not. I'm not going to force you at all. I'm just going to keep questions coming at you.
Yeah.
And we'll get it. Okay, so, and don't forget, towards the end as well, you can throw in a few that aren't necessarily FPL. I'm just going to read what's on the screen. So, let's go. All right. Martial or Will? Oh, I need to set the timer. Martial or Wilson?
Wilson.
Bailey or Almiron?
Almiron.
Wilson or for Mitrovic?
Try and, like we just said, try and hold if you can and use your bench options.
KDB and Almiron or Foden and Maddison?
Foden and Maddison, better balance, I think there.
Salah and Bailey or Diaz and Foden?
Diaz and Foden.
Sterling or Aubameyang?
Ooh, probably Sterling.
Captain Tony or C-Sense and Captain Haaland? You mother...
They're going for you today, John, aren't they? Yeah. Captain, of course this week it has to be Haaland, isn't it?
Play Fofana or Harrison?
Ooh, I think like we said, I think Fofana's a good shout this week with that fixture, so I think Fofana, yeah.
Mitrovic to Welbeck. We probably should have mentioned Welbeck. Mitrovic to Welbeck.
We should have, actually. We don't really ever speak about Welbeck. He was one of the ones earlier, actually. You know when I said about big chances created and Haaland was doing well, and that's that as well. Welbeck's created 4 big chances this season, which is more than loads of these creative midfielders haven't created that amount. So, he's got a high assist potential and he can score the odd goal here and there. What was the question, sorry, exactly?
Mitrovic to Welbeck.
It really does depend on Mitrovic news. Assuming he is out, yeah, I don't hate that move, but overall, I'd say no. I'll say no, actually. I will say no. I think he's worth a shout, Welbeck, but I still don't want to bring him into my team personally, so I'm not going to say yes to someone else when I wouldn't do it.
You'll be happy to know I paused the timer because I did ask you for more information there. So that's not on you. We'll go again. All right. Kane and Rodrigo or Salah and Isaac?
Kane and Rodrigo, I think, yeah.
Foden and Madison or KDB and Almiron?
Yeah, the balance option of Foden and Madison like that. Especially as Foden seems a little bit more goal threat than KDB, so we could even outscore him for a lot less money.
5 Arsenal and City. Free hit game week 12, yes or no?
No, I'm in the same boat. I've got that same 5, and I've also got Patterson as well. I'm not looking to free hit. I'm looking to hobble through. If a -4 needs to be taken, or if I need to play with 10 men, I'll do that. A free hit's going to be much more valuable later on in the season.
Domino's or Papa John's?
Probably Domino's, yeah.
Neither, but yeah.
Yeah,
we've better pizza over here. Sterling or Mount?
Sterling. I don't trust Mount as an FPL asset right now.
I paused the timer. Quick one. Pizza needs a bigger answer.
Yeah.
Always go for like a local pizzeria that cooks nicer pizza instead 100%. Of these chains that give you the shit for 20 quid for the whole big bundle and chicken dippers and all that malarkey.
Yeah. That evening just feel crap if you had that sort of stuff. Exactly. I used to like that sort of stuff when I was younger, but yeah, Domino's now, it's just rank. So yeah,
just go for a higher quality pizza, in my opinion.
I fully agree.
All right, timer starts now.
I like. Hold on, sorry. I like the way we've taken more. We've given more thought to the pizza question than anything else so far.
Yeah, well, like it's an important one, you know.
It is.
Okay, time starts now. Would you get in KDB or Salah?
I wouldn't bring in KDB now because of the blank coming up. Who I'd prefer as an FPL asset over the course of, say, the next 6 or 7 weeks, then it would be KDB, yeah.
Wilson
Salah,
or Daka?
Right now, no. Wilson, Daka's not games.
De Bruyne to Foden?
Yes, I'm looking to maybe make that pivot or that sort of change at some point, maybe game week 13 onwards.
Would you prefer a like or a share?
Share, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, share. Yeah, get it out in social. Foden or Bowen?
Ooh, I think Foden's blank is coming up, obviously. I guess depends on your situation if you can afford to bench Foden, maybe. But because of the blank, I'll say Bowen because I'm assuming everyone's going to be benching the likes of Haaland, maybe Cancelo as well. So yeah, Bowen because of the blank.
Aubameyang and Trossard or Jesus and Zaha?
Probably Jesus and Zaha. Again, a lot of people sort of maybe talk about targeting Arsenal and City players at the minute. I don't fully get that. I think Arsenal and City players you can't really be targeting to bring in right now. As a general, I'll try and answer them more generally then because, who I prefer as assets over the longer term then. Yeah, I'll go for the Jesus option there.
Son in for De Bruyne in game week 11.
No, I'm very anti-Son at the minute. He gets dragged early in games. He sometimes doesn't start games. Kulusevski's injury is not a big one, I don't think. And one hat-trick against Leicester, but he was really poor against Arsenal. I don't trust Son as an FPL asset right now. And at that price point, you need to trust FPL assets a lot. You can't be taking any gambles on their game time at 12 odd million or whatever he is.
Foden to Diaz for game week 12.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I know Diaz was benched last week, but I assume he's in a big part of Klopp's plans because he's one of Liverpool's best players. So yeah, I still like Luis Diaz as an option.
Son or Bowen?
Again, Bowen is cheaper. He's more nailed on. Doesn't have European. Oh no, wait, they do, don't they? But yeah, I think Bowen's less likely of rotation risk.
Reece James or Fofana?
Reece James does offer a lot more, doesn't he? His price points, there's an argument to go for Fofana for that cheaper clean sheet and potentially occasionally benching. Reece James is obviously the better FPL asset though, isn't he? That's not up for debate.
Would you sell Cancelo or Martinelli?
I've got that same debate actually. I'm leaning towards getting rid of Cancelo. I don't fear Cancelo anymore in terms of what he can give from an attacking point of view. And City conceding a fair amount as well so far this season. So yeah, Cancelo's not as essential as he was last year for sure.
Billing in for Gordon?
Billing?
Yep.
Philip Billing? No. Don't. Terrible FPL
Trippier
asset.
or Trent?
Trippier at the minute, yeah.
Pope or Raya? He froze on me. Pope or Raya, go again.
Oh, sorry. I think my internet went again. Yeah, Pope. I still trust Newcastle as an FPL defensive unit.
James or Saliba?
Reece James or Saliba? Reece James, for sure.
Gay or Veltman?
I think Gay. Veltman does have a good fixture in game week 12 as well, though, to be fair. So I should have probably spoken about Brighton's cheap defenders as well when we were speaking about Palace's ones.
Time is up. 29.
29. That's poor, but we gave people more content.
Exactly. You give more context. That's always the eternal balance, you know?
Yeah.
Do you want to give context or do you just want to bang them out? So, Wes, that's it for this week's FPL Double Up podcast. Thanks to everyone for being here. Drop a like on your way out. Subscribe to catch this every single week, along with loads of other content on the channel. And you can find both of us at our socials that are on the little handles below. My hands are going everywhere.
And also, like someone said earlier about, we never really asked for shares, do we, John? That's actually a good idea because we're still we're relatively new podcast and stream. We don't get as many views as some of the other big pods out there. So yeah, we do need extra help spreading the word and growing this as big as we can. So yeah, any shares you can give, we'll appreciate us. Give us a tag on Twitter as well. We'll give you a little like and we'll really appreciate that. So yeah, thanks.
Absolutely. Thanks a million. See you later.
Cheers, guys.